But when you see Game, do you say, yo, why are you talking about 50? You wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for him. Like, he's really there based on his association with 50 Cent initially. I introduced him. I don't really hear people say that to Game. I don't hear people say, you're really here because of 50 Cent. Like, we know you because of 50 Cent. How are you so comfortable with disrespecting 50 Cent?
50, he move a little different. You know, even though he forgives, he don't forget. And I'm talking about, I really fucked up G-Unit Clothing, the record company, the whole shit. I put G-Unit.
My issue with Game is I don't know what happened with him, period.
But he felt so hurt. He really looked up to you.
How could you have an assessment on a person who's flip-flopped their entire career? He almost bipolar. If you watch it, like the way he does things, like he'll do it like he's extremely emotional.
He cool and we good. It ain't no drama. I ain't gonna see 50 and whoop his ass at 40 years old.
Then it goes to,
what makes someone like 50 Cent a fan favorite? And where did things go south of the Game? These two have history that runs deep, decades of brotherhood betrayal and brutal fallouts. Their bond once hit iconic levels, but the fallout still lingering in 2025 like a wound that never healed. They squashed the beef once, but let's be real, it was never truly over. And now, that old tension is boiling up again, especially after the legendary 2022 Super Bowl halftime show. Game's been tight ever since. And now 50? He's out here throwing slick shots, almost begging Game to respond. So what's this big threat 50's hinting at? Let's rewind. That Super Bowl show in 2022 wasn't just music. It was a cultural moment. It felt like hip-hop finally stepped into the global spotlight. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and 50 Cent shut it down. Fans said the halftime show outshined the game itself. Social media went nuclear, but not everyone was clapping. Game felt straight up disrespected, and he didn't hold back. He said, look, if you're showcasing West Coast legends in the heart of L.A., his name should have been front and center. But instead, they flew in 50 from New York, Mary J. from New York, and Eminem from Detroit. For Game, it wasn't about talent. It was about politics. He said the NFL and Dre handpicked artists who wouldn't rock the boat, artists who'd keep it clean and corporate. But Game's never played by those rules, and he wasn't about to stay quiet about getting left off. He felt iced out, and he let the world...
West Coast are the only because that have this crab in the barrel mentality where we want to keep down or don't do things based on what somebody else might think it looks like. LA all around the Super Bowl, and I don't get the call. So
how'd you feel?
I was hurt by that.
Thank you.
50 is not a better writer than me, not a better lyricist. You know what I'm saying? Better with melodies, hooks, that's his thing. I give him that. I'm not gonna take nothing away from nobody that's good at what they good at, but as far as like lyricism, he can't
know it. And it wasn't just Game who felt the disrespect. Fans and industry folks were side-eyeing the whole setup. One of the first to speak up? King Trell. Something about it just didn't sit right. Game was raised in the heart of L.A. If anyone deserved to be on that stage, it was him. That's why Trell went all in with a bold post. FYI, Los Angeles Confidential should have been on the Super Bowl stage. I'll be the first to say it. Game didn't waste a second. He reposted it with his own message. Brazy for real, to be 100 with you. And just like that, it was clear this wasn't about a missed gig. This was personal. The mastermind behind that halftime lineup? None other than Dr. Dre. And this wasn't just about repping Cali. It was about legacy, Dre's legacy. That stage wasn't a tribute to L.A. It was a timeline of Dre's musical empire. Whoever fit into his story made it. And clearly, Game wasn't part of that chapter anymore. Maybe things would have cooled off, but instead, they got worse. That same 2022 halftime show ended up bagging an Emmy for Outstanding Variety Special, a historic win for hip-hop. But for Game, it felt like salt in the wound. And then came the real hit. 50 Cent, who did perform, jumped on IG flaunting his new Emmy like a trophy. I just won my Emmy Award for the Super Bowl halftime show, LOL. But 50 wasn't done. Right after that flex, he locked eyes on Game and let the trolling begin. He posted a throwback photo of Game with a brutal caption. No caption needed. Straight mockery. No performance. No Emmy. No love. Just public embarrassment. And IG wasn't the only place 50 was willed in. He slid over to Twitter and took aim at Game's 2022 album Dramatic, Heart vs. Mind. The numbers? Barely scraped 18K in first week sales. And 50 clown hard. Oh no, I'm sorry you didn't get one. First week, 18K. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here for you. LOL. Savage. Now to be fair, the sales were a bit higher. But facts weren't the point. The disrespect was. And 50 knows exactly how to push buttons. This wasn't some random jab. This was years of bad blood boiling over in 2025. Their history? Deep. Game was signed to 50's G Unit in 2003. But the fallout? Explosive. Diss tracks, interviews, real beef in the streets for more than a decade. But by 2016, things seemed to calm down. Game got on stage in an LA club and said he was ready to let it go, to finally move on. For a minute, it really looked like the beef was done. Fans thought the war
feel no certain way. I fuck with 50. What happened? That shit was 12 years ago. Niggas ain't on.
had finally cooled off. But clearly, 50 wasn't ready to let bygones be bygones. That 2022 Emmy win lit a new fire, and instead of just soaking the moment, he used it to twist a knife. His IG post? Gone within minutes. Maybe he had second thoughts. But that Twitter jab? Still live. Still savage. And you already know Game wasn't letting that slide. He clapped back immediately, reposting an old photo of 50 with the exact same caption. No caption needed. But Game wasn't done. He added his own flair, calling him Spicy Boy and roasting, "Your eyebrow do LOL." It was messy, it was petty, and it was comedy gold. But trust, it was far from finished. That was just the appetizer. Game wanted blood. He dropped a brutal shot online. Text your oldest son. Tell him you love him. Bro, I don't respect no dude who treats his kid like an op. You've been a clown. That hit deep. This wasn't rap beef anymore. This was real life. But not everybody was buying the outrage. A lot of fans thought Game was reaching, desperate to stay relevant. His numbers had been mid for years, and some folks believe he was just doing whatever it took to keep his name in the headlines. Remember when he said Dramatic was the album of the year? Called it his best work ever? He even dropped a whole 10-minute diss track at Dre, M, and 50. The internet started piecing it all together. Game seemed down to stir the pot anytime he needed buzz. Comments started pouring in. One fan said, "Crazy how Game used to be next up just for going at 50 and G Unit. Now, he's just doing the most to stay relevant. One day he's showing love. Next day he's crying about the Super Bowl. Just L after L." Another fan wrote, "It's kinda sad, TBH. Game had all the tools. Now it's just antics. SMH. But Game? He wasn't tucking his tail. He turned the heat up. What started as a meme war turned real. At a packed LA nightclub, Game grabbed the mic and made his position loud and clear. Years ago, he told the same crowd he was done with the drama. But now, I still don't F with 50. Asterisk, he shouted. Right there, no filter, no peace talk. This wasn't subliminal. This was war. Again, what's wild is this isn't just any beef. This is one of hip-hop's longest-running feuds. We're talking 20-plus years of smoke. It all began when Game joined G-Unit in 2003. On the surface, it looked like a dream team. 50 was running the game. Game was the West Coast next king. But behind closed doors, the tension was real from day one. And by 2005, it all exploded. Game got booted from G-Unit, and chaos followed. Diss records flew like missiles. And who could forget Game's legendary Gianna campaign? Billboards, T-shirts, full-on trolling. He turned his beef with 50 into a full-blown movement. Meanwhile, 50 kept jabbing back, lyrically, publicly, ruthlessly. And it didn't stop at diss tracks. Their crews clashed on both coasts, New York and LA. Sure, there were moments it cooled off. In 2016, things almost felt squashed. Game told fans during a performance that he was over the beef. People clapped. It felt like a turning point. But hip-hop, it doesn't forget that easy. So when that 2022 Super Bowl halftime show aired and Game was nowhere in sight, it reopened every old wound. Game felt cut out. 50 flaunted his Emmy. And just like that, it was 2005 all over again. Deesa's trolling, backhanded posts. It was the same war, just reloaded for Instagram and TikTok. And here we are in 2025, and the fire's still burning. The craziest part? This isn't just beef anymore. This is hip-hop history. A rivalry that's lasted longer than some. People's careers. Game versus 50 has become legend. Every few years, something brings it back to life. And every time, they both jumping like it never ended. Fans even joke it's the longest-running series in rap. Longer than The Simpsons. And they might be right. Back in the day, it was all diss tracks. Game dropping 300 bars and running. 50 firing back with ruthless lines. But this was never just about bars. It was about dominance. About who really ran the game. Game built his identity by standing up to 50. And 50? He built a brand on never backing down. Two massive egos. One never-ending feud. And we can't look away. Fast forward to the 2010s, 2020s, and now deep into the 2025s. The music may have slowed down, but the beef? Still fully alive. Interviews, podcast jabs, shady captions. This saga never went away. That Super Bowl situation? Just another messy chapter. Game felt iced out. 50 laughed it off. One throws shade. The other swings back harder. That's how it's always gone. And now, it's way bigger than just them. A whole generation of fans, many of whom weren't even around during the Gina Glory days, are locked in, catching up, picking sides like it's current drama. Is Game one of the most slept-on artists of his era? Is 50 just trolling too hard at this point? Should they have buried the hatchet a decade ago? Everybody's got a take, and that nonstop chatter keeps both their names alive, even after the charts stop calling. At this point, the 50 versus Game rivalry isn't just beef. It's hip-hop's most committed soap opera. And 50? He's still playing his villain role like a pro. After catching wind of Game's latest jabs, he clapped back with a trademark threat disguised as a joke. Oh no, you're making me nervous now. You know it's not safe around me when I'm nervous. LOL, that's classic 50. Half comedy, half chaos, and fully calculated. So where's this all headed now? Will it stay in meme territory? Or are we on the brink of another diss track war? Fans are hoping it stays petty and playful. But if history's taught us anything, it's that things can flip fast. Game's coming like it's still 2005, like he's got something to prove all over again. And 50? He's loving the drama, throwing jabs just to keep the cameras rolling. But what do you think? Was 50 just being funny, or was that post a subtle threat wrapped in emojis? And why does Game keep taking the bait? Is this about earning respect, or just chasing attention? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. If you enjoyed this deep dive, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and send this to someone who's been following the drama from day one. And don't click away just yet. Tap the next video on your screen for even more jaw-dropping celebrity showdowns. You already know, it only gets wilder from here.